morning, everyone. I am Abhiruchi Lakris, an associate member at Legal Law Forum. We at Legal Law Forum endeavor to promote legal education and awareness through various legal educational activities. We believe in encouraging young law students and helping them resolve the gap between those who come from a law background and those who do not. Today, we have with us an outstanding advocate. I'd like to ask Ms. Bhakti, our coordinator for today, to introduce him to us.
Thank you, Abhiruchi. Without further delay, let me introduce about today's keynote speaker of our conversation, Advocate Gaurav Thond sir. Sir is from Yavatmal district in Maharashtra and he is currently practicing in Bombay High Court Nagpur bench. Sir handles matters related to trademarks and copyrights. Sir has handled matters in Debt Recovery Tribunal as well. Apart from this, Sir is a stage performer, scriptwriter, and also an anchor. Today's topic is insolvency and bankruptcy code 2016 before and after scenario. Now, I would like to handle charges to Sir.
Thank you, Bhakti and Abhiruchi, for introducing me. So now we have to start with why this code is immersed in the entire legal system. We have to go through the basic details of why the need is there for this code. So if you look before scenario, before enactment of this code of 2016, we can see that the process of recovery of debt is very slow in India. That is, it was taking minimum 5 years, whether in America or in other continents. We have seen that the process of recovery is uh, for one and a half year only. So to complete this process or to recover the debt, this code has been enacted in India, and now we have a procedure where we can recover the debt in 270 days, which is divided into two parts. Is it possible to show a PPT here?
Yes, sir, you can present the screen. There must be an option of present now, and you can do that. Select the window which you want to show, the PowerPoint window maybe, and then we will be able to see it.
Okay. So we will go through it. Okay.
Okay, sir, we are able to see it. You may change it to slideshow so that it gets into full screen mode.
So you are getting a full screen video.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Perfect.
Okay. So as I have already told you that the process of recovery was very painful in India. That is minimum of 5 years, and as compared to other countries, we are very much backward for the recovery of debts. So therefore, it was the need of an hour and need of our country to increase the GDP, that is behind the recovery, and to less the NPAs, that is non-performing assets. The loan, we can say what is non-performing asset. We have to know firstly. The non-performing asset is that when you borrow a loan from a bank and you unable to pay the same within prescribed period, or you miss the EMIs, that is monthly installment of your loan, for the consecutive period of 3 months, then your loan after 6 months of the recovery period will be converted into non-performing assets. And for that recovery purpose, there was a need of a procedure that has been already there in Securitization Act. But for the fastest recovery, this code has been immersed in India, and now we are having a period of 270 days that has been changed to 330 days now after the amendment of 2019 bill. So now we have seen that why the code is immersed. To because of the less recovery rate, because of more NPS in bank, because of high process cost of insolvency, and no chance of ease of doing business and easy exit. Now we came on the next issue, that is old disease, new prescription. Why? This topic is here to show that why this code is here, to promote entrepreneurship. What is there if I want to do any business and I have to borrow some loan and I am unable to pay my debt due to this lockdown period. We can take this lockdown period because the moratorium policy has been introduced by the government in this period for the stakeholders. So we have to know to promote the entrepreneur, improve credit availability. If you get a better credit from the market, you can do business very in a very easy way. So this code has been there for uh, managing the assets also. Uh, you can go through the slide and see that what we have seen here, the interest of all the stakeholders are maintained by this code, that is for the creditors and debitors. The code is very balanced for both the systems. Minimum role of adjudicating authority, because NCLT and DRT are only two authorities have a right to adjudicate these matters related to insolvency and bankruptcy code. There is a recent judgment in Kotak India Venture Funds and India Biotech Private Limited, whether court has said that no uh, arbitration proceeding can be done in solving the dispute related to insolvency proceedings. The issue has been raised by the Kotak Fund that we can resolve the issue by arbitration procedure, but that has not been solved as the code itself is very much clear and the process is uh, very easy to recover the debt from Indus Biotech, so that they have not allowed them to start a arbitration procedure. Lesser compliance mechanism. Why there is a lesser compliance mechanism? The only reason to minimize the time for adjudication, avoid combination and complication of many laws. The only code which is introduced in 2016 for recovery of debt is insolvency and bankruptcy, which minimizes the multiplicity of proceedings. Whether we can see that many a times for recovery of debt, we have submitted some checks to the bank as a security. Uh, they bounce your check and start the proceeding under Section 138 of a Negotiable Instrument Act. Then they start a procedure in a civil court sometimes for the recovery of debt. Thereafter, they file procedure before the DRT. So to avoid this multiplicity of proceeding, this code has been emerged. And before emergence of this code, there was many proceedings filed against a single person for the recovery of a single debt. So to avoid this multiplicity, the code has been inserted. So we have to know the journey of IBC, how the bill is introduced. On 21st of December 2015, the IBC Bill of 15 introduced in Lok Sabha. Thereafter, on 23rd of December 15, the Joint Committee of both Houses of Parliament has referred this bill. And Joint Committee placed its report of both the Houses of Parliament on 20th of April 2016. And then in May 2005, Lok Sabha passed the bill, and on 11th of May 16, the Rajya Sabha has passed the bill. And on 28th of May 2016, the bill has been assented by the President of India, and now we have the bill, a good bill for the recovery of debt, that is IBC. The applicability of bill, as we have put a question that whether what is the applicability of bill, or to whom the bill is applicable. The bill is applicable to any company which is incorporated under Companies Act and the provisions of the acts. Any other company governed by any special act. If any special act is there in India and this code is only for Indian companies and not applicable to the company registered in outside the company and having branch here in India. Any LLP, that is limited liability partnership, filed incorporated under LLP Act, any other body as notified by central government, partnership firms, and this code is governed for individuals also. What are the objects of the code? Creditor in control regime, that is to control the creditors, consolidates existing insolvency laws and amends other litigation. What I have already told you, that to avoid the multiplicity of proceeding, the code is consolidated and amended the litigations so that the process of recovery is also uh, the process of recovery is also not that much we can say it the process is very much easier, so that the recovery will happen in a so few days. Time bound resolution, as we have already discussed, that there is a limitation of 270 days that has been divided into two parts, that is 180 days plus 90 days, that is discretion of the authority to whether to give the 90 days limitation, further limitation or not. That for the further 90 days we have to file an application before the NCLT or DRT, whether where the matter is filed, and thereafter you will get the time of 90 extra 90 days for adjudication of the matter. The code clearly defines the priority. That is, priority means you can say the code is specifically the specific. It is very much specific for recovery of debt, and therefore we can say that it clearly defines the priority. There is no any absurdity in the code. They have made the code with very keen study and the deep knowledge of the previous codes and the drawbacks, the flaws they have found in the previous available litigations laws, that because of these multiplicity, the matters were lingering, the pendency were very high in India, and the recovery rate was very low. Therefore, they have defined the code on a priority basis. Investigation of antecedent transactions in case of legal diversion of assets of the company. Establishment of IBBI as an independent monitoring body for administration and governance of insolvency bankruptcy law. For insolvency and bankruptcy, the IBBI has been established by this code. So the basic terms: creditor, debtors, insolvency, bankruptcy, winding up, liquidation, and dissolution. Insolvency means a person who is unable to, insolvent is a person who is unable to pay his credits. And bankruptcy, winding up is related to the company, to partnership companies or to LLPs and the companies registered under Companies Act. At the time of winding up of the company, many a times we see that companies are winded up because of high credits, because of loss of business, because of uh, less loss of production. So at the time of winding up, if there is any debt over the company, the issues regarding that debt has been resolved by NCLT as per the provisions of insolvency and bankruptcy code. Liquidation. What is liquidation? Liquidation of assets means the assets which possessed by any company, individual, LLP, partnership did, that has been governed if the company is winded up, and the debts are there for payment of that debts to the creditors. The liquidation process has been done there. The dissolution. After liquidation, the company has been dissolved, and from the amount acquired by the liquidation of the assets that has been paid to the creditors, and then the company has been dissolved. Who can invoke the remedies? Another question we have there, that who can invoke the remedies, that is financial creditor. Under section 7, 9 and 10 of the code, there is a clear provision that who can invoke the remedies prescribed under insolvency and bankruptcy code, that is financial creditor, operational creditor, and corporate debt. Any person to whom a financial debt is owed, and includes a person to whom such debt legally assigned or transferred. A person to whom an operational debt is owed, and includes any person to whom such debt legally assigned or transferred. a corporate person who owes a debt to any person. So we are moving to the another slide, that is invoking provisions of the code. In case of default, there is a prescribed amount or a limit. You can say that every litigation, every financial litigation has some criteria, and in case of the company and limited liability partnerships, the minimum the file the minimum amount required to file a proceeding under this code is 1 lakh, and in case of partnership or an individuals, the minimum amount is 1000 rupees. So in some cases, as per the liability, that may differs up to 1 crore and 1 lakh rupees. Uh, when any company or LLP commits default, so what happens then? A default in paying is financial debt or operational debt. Then a financial creditor or operational creditor or a company or LLP itself can file an application for initiating corporate insolvency resolution process to the adjudicating authority, that is NCLT, National Company Laws Tribunal, in case of company and LLP. So now we are on adjudicating authority, that is NCLT. There are two adjudicating authorities, that is NCLT and DRT, that is National Company Law Tribunal and Debt Recovery Tribunal. So, as per the liabilities of the person, that is, if the matter is related with the company registered under Companies Act or LLP registered under LLP Act, they can file their application before NCLT, and the appeal is also there, which is NCLAT, and that is National Company Laws Appellate Tribunal. And in case of individual or partnership firm, we have to file an application before Debt Recovery Tribunal. Thereafter, there are certain cases where the application or adjudicating authority can reject the application. Adjudicating authority within 14 days of receipt of application by an order admit the application or reject the application. Why they reject the application if the application is incomplete? If any default is occurred or default not occurred, they find that if there is a default or no default. If the tribunal found that there is no default, then the application is directly rejected. And if the application is filed in a proper format and with the and filed with complete documentation and default is there, then they admit the application and resolve the dispute in a prescribed period. Notice of rejection. Adjudicating authority shall, before rejecting the application, give notice to the applicant to rectify defects in application within 7 days. That is, after filing of an application, there is a procedure for 7 days to verify whether the application is in proper format, whether it is complete, whether there is a default or there is no default in the application. If they found that there is no default, they have to serve notice to the applicant within 7 days from the receipt of this application that whether their application is going to adjudicate or not. If there is a default, they will immediately file, send you a notice for the next procedure, or if there is no default, the application is rejected, they will inform you within 7 days to fulfill the lacuna, or you have to complete the procedure within 7 days. If there is there you have any problem in filing, then that can be recovered by completing the procedure of removing objections. So you get every opportunity is given under this code to both the debtors and the creditors for initiating the insolvency proceedings. Now, the provision is a time bound. There is 270 days limitation as per the code in case of regular proceeding, and in fast track proceeding, that is 135 days. That is 180 days plus 90 days, and 90 days plus 45 days. These 90 days maximum and 45 days one time is completely dependent on the adjudicating authority whether to allow the applicant or not. uh, as we can see in this slide, I have put three things. Adjudicating authority after admission of the application shall by order declare a moratorium. Moratorium, we all know this policy is very much discussed in this lockdown. Many people are taking benefits of this moratorium facility. So that the moratorium is given by the tribunal or authority, and the period for moratorium is also described in the order of the adjudicating authority whether you have to pay the debts in next 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. So the minimum period of payment is 3 months, and thereafter cause of public announcement. If the liquidation proceedings start, at that time public announcement has been done by the authority, adjudicating authority. What is moratorium effect? As per section 14(1)(a)(b) of the IBC code, we can see that adjudicating authority shall by order prohibit the following: that is, institution, continuation, proceeding of the suits, including execution of any judgment, decree, or order in any court. If the moratorium is allowed by the adjudicating authority, and there is any decree, any judgment of any other authority, that has to be stopped. That means that has been stayed till payment of the debt or till the completion of moratorium period. Transferring, encumbering, alienating, or disposing of assets, legal right, benefit, or interest. That is, if any company has a movable or immovable assets of the like amount of the debt, or their legal right. If any person is a CEO of the company and his legal right is to pay the debt to their creditors, then at the in while the moratorium period, no authority has a right to transfer the legal right of that person to any other person while the procedures, the application is under adjudication and adjudicating authority has already uh, given a moratorium. Any action to foreclosure, recover, or enforce any security interest created, including any action under SURFACI Act 2020, as we have 2002. Sorry, that is SURFACI Act 2002, as we have already discussed. That the SURFACI Act is also there for the recovery of loans, which is completely adjudicated by debt recovery tribunal, and no other tribunals are there. So if any proceeding is filed before DRT, and if the DRT has ordered for auction of any property, but if in case the proceedings under IBC is already under adjudication and adjudicating authority has already given a moratorium, then there is a stay for any action under SURFACI Act. Recovery of any property by owner or leaser where such property is occupied. If the property is already occupied by the applicant, then in that case, when moratorium is in effect, then no authority has a right to transfer the property. Moratorium effects and its objects. So, maximizing value of entity to continue operation. That is, if the adjudication is going on, then no one can interfere in the matter, or no other authority can pass any order, or any order passed by any other authority be in effect if the moratorium is in place. No additional stress on business. Supply of essential good or services to the corporate debtor, as may be specified, shall not be terminated or suspended or interrupted. That is, if the moratorium period is going on, a business, to run that business in a proper way for recovery of a debt, no supplier of essential good or services has a right to stop or suspend or suspend for providing that material or things. Central government in consultation with any financial regulator may specify such transactions. Order of moratorium made by adjudicating authority start from start date of admission of application. case to the effect, date of approval of resolution plans or liquidation orders. This is what the moratorium period. If we want to know what is the moratorium period, that the moratorium period starts from the date of application. That when your application is admitted before NCLT or DRT under IBC, then on the same day the moratorium period under section 14(1) starts to get effect, and it continues till completion of the procedure of IBC. Public announcement. Public announcement contains following information, that is name, address and defaulted corporate debtors, name of registrar with which corporate debtor is incorporated or registered. That is the name of and address of the defaulted corporate debtor, that is who have defaulted in payments, their name, whether that is private limited company, company under Companies Act, LLP, partnership, their registered address where you can file your claim if any. And on another column they write the name of the registrar with which corporate debtor is incorporated or registered. That means the registering authority, which we have already discussed, that the company under Companies Act we have to file application before the Companies Act registrar, or in case of partnership firm you have to file a partnership firm before the registrar of partnership firms. So in case of individuals, the registered address of the individual will be there. And last date for submission of claim, that if you have any debt over any company and the company have filed the insolvency application before the NCLT or DRT, there is a fixed date is given in a public announcement, that before that date you have to file an application before the tribunal, that you have to receive some amount of from that company, and you have to put every document related to that debt of yourself over the company. And if you fail to do so before the last date of the claim, then your claim will not be settled by the company. So for getting your claims done, you have to look after that whether the limitation is over or not. If you are in the limitation and you have a documents ready, you can file it before the tribunal, and tribunal will look after that. Details of interim resolution professional, management of corporate debtors responsible for receiving claim. Penalties for false or misleading claims. If you have made any false claim, or if you have made any claim where you don't have any documents to show that you have the company have liability which has to be paid to you, then in this case the NCLT has a definite right to sue you or to put a penalties over you for misleading the tribunal. Date on which the insolvency resolution process close, as we have already discussed, that is the period of 180 days from the date of admission of the application, not from the date of filing of the application. We have to keep in mind that there is a provision of 180 days from the date of admission only. Many a times we got confused that whether the period is from the date of filing of application or admission. So let me clear you that the period is of 180 days and the period is from the date of admission. Public announcement shall be made in such a manner as may be specified. The public announcement is made in a specified manner means that there is a specific provisions, or there is a specific pro forma of public announcement which has been made by NCLT or DRT to make it to announce it to the public at large that these companies these company or this person have filed a insolvency proceeding, and any debt if you have to file before the prescribed date. So this is what the public announcement is. Interim resolution professionals, that is appointment of insolvency professionals. So we can say the appointment of adjudicating authority within 14 days from admission of the application. That is, after admission, they appoint a commissioner or a professional, insolvency professional, who look after the applications received or the claims received from the borrowers, from the debtors, and he is the authority who have to check entire document and look after whether the application is proper or not, whether the claims are proper or not, whether the claim of false or the claims has to be settled at the time of insolvency procedure. Tenure. The appointment of professionals shall not take 30 days from the date of appointment. That is, from the date of at the date of admission, the tribunal has to appoint some professional within 14 days, and whether he may be appointed after first day, second day, or third day, that doesn't matter. And from that date of appointment, within 30 days, you have to do all the procedure prescribed under the IBC. Once IPR is appointed, that is insolvency resolution professionalism, if interim resolution professionalism appointed, he has to do management of affairs of corporate debtors, power of BOD, partners shall stand suspended and will be exercised by IPR. Officers and management of corporate debtors shall report to IPR. FI maintaining accounts of corporate debtors shall follow instructions of IPR. So IRP is a governing body after filing of application for insolvency proceeding under IBC, and he will be reported by any management in case of company, any partners, or in case of LLP or partnership firm, or an individual in case of individuals. So no one, and IRP will be the only authority who will exercise his powers while deciding the debts of the claims. Resolution professional. Appointment by committee of creditors may in their first meeting within 7 days of the constitution of the committee. The committee will be constituted by the IBC for resolution of the dispute filed under the IBC. So within 7 days, such professional is appointed. Resolve to appoint the interim resolution professional as a resolution professional or replace the interim resolution professional by another resolution professional. If in any case the company found the tribunal found that there must have to be a change in a resolution professionals, that the committee constituted has to file application before the IBC, before the NCLT or adjudicating authority for replacement of that IRP professional. Resolution professionals shall conduct the entire insolvency resolution process and manage the operation of the company during the corporate insolvency resolution process period. Resolution professionals shall exercise all such powers and duties as vested on the interim resolution professional. Interim resolution professionals are there to settle the disputes within the claimants of the company, LLP, partnership, or an individual. All the meeting of the committee or a creditor shall be conducted by resolution professionals, as we have already discussed on the last slide, that IRP will be the only governing body when the insolvency procedures of the company, LLP, or partnership firm is initiated. So no partner, no CEO of the company, no individual has right in that procedure if IRP is appointed by adjudicating authority. Duties of resolution professionals. Meeting of the committee of the creditors. To call the meeting and to discuss over the credits, the only IRP has a right to call the meeting and to resolve the disputes. He has to present all the resolution plans in the meetings to the creditors, that we can say if we have a huge debt of 1 crore rupees and the resolution professional is appointed and the claimants have filed their claims And in the meeting, the resolution professional have to make a plan that we have an immovable property of so and so amount, and how we can disperse that amount to the creditors. These all plans have to be made by resolution professionals. Therefore, they have been appointed by adjudicators. Documents to maintain and update list of claims. What we have already discussed, that the claims has to be filed before the IRP, and he have to maintain and check that whether the claim is proper or not. And for after receiving the claims, you have to prepare a memorandum of information to inform the tribunal or the authority or the adjudicating authority, uh, as in regards to the repayments of the debt. Right. Rights. Take immediate custody and control of all the asset, including business record. What he has to do, the IRP, that is insolvency resolution professional, have to do that. He have to take a complete charge of that company or LLP, as regards to the documents, book of accounts, their resolution books, any loan they have borrowed from the market, or over their accounts, their movable and immovable assets. The complete he have to take complete charge of these things. After his appointments, within 30 days, he has to complete all this procedure of receiving claims, planning meetings with the claimants, and for that he have a very limited period of 30 days. Represent and act on behalf of the company or LLP with third parties. Who are the third parties here? The third parties means claimants. So in this case, IRP has to represent the company to the third parties. Replacement of resolution procedure. COC to replace the resolution professionals any time during the pendency of IPR. COC may forward name of another insolvency professional to the adjudicating authority. In case the IRP is found not proper to adjudicate the matter or to resolve the dispute at any point of time within 30 days of completion of this period, the COC have to file an application before the adjudicating authority that they want to change the IRP, and they have to put another name of the insolvency professionals for the procedure. The adjudicating authority shall forward name of the proposed resolution professional to the board of the board for confirmation. That is, if any name is proposed for replacement of the previous IRP appointed by the adjudicating authority, you have to put a resolution that where he is compatible, and where he will be able to complete the procedure prescribed in the act. And if they found that the name is perfect and he can be a good replacement, then on confirmation of the board of appointment, the appointment for the new resolution professional is done. Now, committee of creditors. The interim resolution of professionals shall be collect all claims and determine a financial position. IRP has to collect all the claims made by the claimants, and after that, they have to determine the financial position of the institution who have filed the insolvency application before the NCLT or DRT. They have to constitute a committee of creditors comprising of all financial creditors. That is, those who have filed their claims. The committee of creditors has to be made, and all the decision of the committee taken by vote of not less than 75%. If there are 10 claimants or creditors, and the committee comprising of 10 members, there must be 8 members to vote in any decision of COC. Related party. If no financial creditor, COC shall exercise with functions. If no financial creditor, COC shall exercise with functions. COC means constitution of the committee. Committee of the creditors has to exercise their functions, that shall not have any right of representation, participation, or voting. Position of financial creditor. Consortium agreement. Each financial creditor shall be the part of the committee. Those who are the creditor of the institution must be a part of the committee. No one should be left out of the committee who are the creditors of that committee, institution. Voting share shall be on the basis of financial debt. If you have a debt of rupees 10,000 and another person is having a debt of rupees 10 lakhs, then the person who is having debt of rupees 10 lakhs will have a more share in the voting rights in case of COC, that is Committee of Creditors. Committee of Creditors. Position of financial creditor when he is an operational creditor shall be considered financial creditor to the extent of financial debt. Voting shares to the extent of the financial debt, as we have already discussed that it is completely depend upon the amount or over the debt. Operational creditor to the extent of operational debt. Assignment of operational debt. If an operational creditor has assigned or legally transferred any operational debt to financial creditor, the assignee of the transfer shall be considered as an operational creditor to the extent of such assignment or a legal transfer. So now, what is a resolution plan? Preparation of information memorandum for formulating a resolution plan. Resolution plan is in the meeting of COC and IRP. They have to make a resolution plan for disbursement of debt or for the completion of insolvency procedure. They have to make a resolution plan providing to resolution applicant access to all the relevant information. That is, the applicant who have applied for insolvency proceeding have a right to go through the resolution plan. Resolution applicant will submit a resolution plan to resolution professional prepared as per information memorandum. Information memorandum means the availability of the information with the IRP. He has to put that information in the COC meeting, and thereafter they made a resolution plan. The plan has been examined and presented to RP, that is resolution professional, and to COC, that is COC, for approval. The resolution plan has been made and approved by RP and COC. Submitting the resolution plan to adjudicating authority. That after approval from RP and COC, the plan is submitted to the adjudicating authority. And after it is filed before the adjudicating authority, we go through the plan in details, and if it will be found that the plan is proper and claims are getting the claims are going to be satisfied by this resolution plan, then he may order to approve the same resolution plan. And on the same day of approval of the resolution plan, the moratorium period ends, which means that the procedure is completed after filing of the resolution plan. Resolution plan will be binding to every corporate debtor, its employees, members, creditors, guarantors, and other stakeholders. If resolution plan not approved or not ready within 180 days, or adjudicating authority rejects the resolution plan, it will pass a liquidation order. If there is no proper resolution plan filed before the authority within 180 days, what we have to do, we have to file an application that we want 90 more days as prescribed in the law for making a resolution plan. If the application is allowed by the adjudicating authority, then you have more 90 days to prepare the plan. Or if the plan you have filed within a prescribed period of 180 days and that has been rejected by the adjudicating authority. In these circumstances, the liquidation order has to be passed by the adjudicating authority, and RP will have to act as a liquidator, and all the power of board of directors will be vested with the liquidator. So waterfall mechanism under IBC, the following debts will be paid in a property given below: insolvency resolution cost and liquidation cost. Debts to secure creditors who have relinquished their security interest and workman's deal for 24 months before commencement. Wages and unpaid dues to employees other than workmen for a period of 12 months before an act commencement. That is, before commencement of the liquidation procedure, they have to pay the wages and unpaid dues to the employees of the company, LLP, partnerships, etc. Financial debts of unsecured creditors. And in the liquidation proceeding, you have the unsecured creditors where there is no security put up by the company, LLP, or partnership that has been fulfilled or satisfied. Workman's dues for earlier period. For the period earlier to filing of the application of liquidation that has been cleared after liquidation proceeding. Crown debts and debts to secured creditor following enforcement of security interest. If there are a secured loan, secured liability with the company, LLP, or partnership, the same has been satisfied by paying the security interest also. Remaining debt preferred shareholders in case of the public limited company. In case of private limited company, there is uh, the shareholders are the mm, sorry. In case of a private limited company, the board of directors of the shareholders of the company, equity shareholders or partners. In case of LLP and partnership form, new institution, insolvency and bankruptcy boards of India, which which has been introduced after introduction of IBC, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Courts, insolvency professional agencies and information utility. These three institutions has came into existence after IBC approval by the government, by the president. So now we have completed. Uh, can you tell me how I can stop? Okay, I have seen that. Stop presenting.
Yes.
Thank
So
you so much, sir.
this is what the act is. So I think I have covered many. If there is any other question we have left, so we have a time to discuss over it. You just put your questions and I'll try to answer it.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us on the topic with an amazing presentation. Uh, Sir, we have a few questions from a student section
Yes.
on the topic. Sir, what types of institutions are eligible to file under IBC 2016?
Yes. So we have already discussed that who can file. We have a slide there, but we can say any company registered under Companies Act, any LLP. LLP means Limited Liability Partnership, which is registered under LLP Act. Any partnership firm registered under Partnership Act, and any individual in case he is suffering from any issue that is he is there are certain things that if he is jobless, he has he has a huge loss in their business, and in that time a farmer can also file insolvency proceeding in case of a crop failure and he have borrowed a loan from any institution. So everyone have a right to file insolvency proceeding before these two tribunals, but there is a difference that in case of NCLT, only a company and LLP can file, and in case of DRT, an individual partnership firm both can file. So there is no specific person who got a right to file the application.
Okay, sir. Moving on to further question.
Yes.
Um Sir, who are the insolvency professionals and what are the criteria for appointing them?
Okay. So we have to move towards the appointment of insolvency professionals. Insolvency professionals are the person who has been appointed by the adjudicating authority after filing of the application for before the tribunal for insolvency procedure. That the adjudicating authority have to appoint a person who must not be a minor. The most important criteria for appointment of the insolvency professional, he has to put sorry he has to take a complete charge of the company or an individual's debt or liabilities to fulfill the procedure within the prescribed period of 180 days. The insolvency professional is a person who governs all the debt of the company, LLP or partnership firm, if any, to satisfy the claimants. So the procedure to fulfill the claims payments, the IRP is appointed by the adjudicating authority. Uh,
Um, Thank you, sir. The next question is, can an applicant withdraw its application for insolvency process?
yes, for withdrawal of the application for insolvency process, you have to put a simple application before the adjudicating authority, and after this detailed scrutiny and hearing, the adjudicating authority can pass an order for the withdrawal. There is no any difficult procedure for the withdrawal.
Thank you, sir. Sir, what are the meaning of claims under the code of our
Yes,
IBC code?
yes. The meaning of claim means right of payment and a right to remedy. As per the code, section 3, 6 of IBC explains the claim part of the question you have put to me, that what is claim, which is clearly explained in section 3 clause 6, and which is simply says the claim means a right to payment and right to remedy defined under IBC. Right to claim means if you have a claim over any company, over any person, you have to file your claim application before the adjudicating authority, that is IRP, who have been appointed by the adjudicating authority after filing of an application or admission of that application. So the claim is what you have, your claim, or what you want to get from that company. That is your claim.
Sir, moving on to the next question. What is corporate personae and who may initiate corporate insolvency process against a corporate person?
Corporate person is a statutory body which has been established under Companies Act. We can say a company which is a corporate entity, and a corporate person, they have to take a resolution within a company, and then the board of director can file an application before the tribunal to initiate the insolvency procedure.
Sir, the next question is, what are the major changes that took place after the enactment of this code in 2016?
Yes, there is that we have already discussed on our very first slide, that there is a very lingering procedure in India, and there are multiple solutions available before 2016, and to incorporate these multiplicity, or to avoid this multiplicity of proceeding, the act has been made, and because of this act, the procedure for recovery is also very easy, and that has been completed in very less time, that is 180 days, which was before enactment was minimum of 5 years procedure. So this made a very big change in the recovery, and because of this code, the NPAs are less. Because of this code, the recovery rate is high in India nowadays. So this code helps the financial system in a right away. They might have made a thought while making a bill.
Sir, the next question is quite a basic question. What are the sole objectives and purpose behind enacting this code?
The sole purpose behind enacting this code is speedy recovery.
Thank you, sir. Sir, now Abhiruchi would take the charges.
Okay, thank you.
Morning. I, on behalf of the Legal Law Forum, would like to express my sincere gratitude to you, Advocate Gaurav Khonsar, for giving us his precious time, answering our questions very patiently, and giving us a very informative coverage on the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Also, I'd like to thank my team, Legal team, for joining us in this session, the associate members and the board members as well. So, sir, thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.